here. I'm a professional GM and not so professional streamer, and I like to I like to play D&D with chat on streams. Check out episode 1. But here's what happened last week. In episode 2, chat makes their way to floor 2 of the Ivory Tower after forcing a mask of whispers onto their barbarian friend Bob for no reason. This made Bob very, very sad. Without a single word, you just force the mask onto his face. Then you hear Bob speak very quietly in a whisper. Why did you do that? Do you not like listening to Bob? It's okay, friend. A lot of people are scared by Bob's voice. Bob understands. He sort of, with his mask, thinking that you don't want to hear him speak. He's just gonna go off into the corner for a little bit until everybody is ready to move on to the next floor. Expecting a fight, they are instead greeted by a mysterious locked door with 3 pedestals labeled 2, 5, and 0. Within the room, there are also 4 mysterious cabinets. Using their wizardly sense, chat uses detect magic to feel a magical presence connecting the pedestals to the door. The same magic lingers around 3 of the cupboards. Uncertain and distrusting, chat opens up the 3rd cupboard where no magic resides. Within this cupboard, a mysterious little monkey jumps out. And it sticks its tongue out at you and it goes, nyeh, nyeh. And it shows its little butt towards you and it wiggles its tail. After sussing out their new friend and trying to get along with him, chat decides to adopt him into the adventuring party. Unfortunately, our policy only allows 1 pet per adventuring group. So after much debate, chat decides to send their injured kitty off to rest and test out their new monkey companion for a while. Left with the remaining cupboards, chat starts to ponder their situation when they notice that Bob has shrunk away in the corner, afraid of scaring their new friend. Gently, chat reaches out to him. Bob opens up as the monkey clambers all over him, deciding to let chat know more about why he came to the tower. In his humble village, Bob was raised by his grandmother, who he loves very, very much, and he tells you, yeah, once this is all done, he's gonna go back and take care of his grandmother. But ever since he was a young boy, he was different from the rest of the villagers. He grew much faster, he was always so much stronger, so much bigger, and for a little bit, people were awed by that. You know, his strength was amazing. But then, they started getting scared. Because, you know, it's scary to be around somebody who can crush rocks with their hands, who can tear down trees if they wanted to. And suddenly Bob's strength wasn't so great anymore. Now it was scary, it was terrifying. It scared Bob as well because he wasn't sure what if he accidentally hurt someone. What if he accidentally hurt his grandmother while he was helping her get out from a seat one day or something. So he stopped being so close to people because he didn't want to hurt them. Animals were the only thing that sort of were always around him. He grew up in a bit of a farmstead, so he was surrounded by things like cattle and horses, and for a time being, they were his only friends because horses and cattle and animals, they are very strong animals themselves, so they weren't afraid of him. But eventually, Bob grew up, and as he grew up, he only got stronger and stronger and bigger, and over time, even the animals got afraid of him because he was just intimidating. So they stayed away from him, and Bob was completely alone. He only had his grandmother who never judged him. And all the villagers, they just avoided him. They didn't want to bully him, they didn't want to make friends, they didn't want anything to do with Bob. Bob was just scary. So they left Bob alone. And Bob thought that maybe that would be his life. Because he didn't want to go out and be a ruthless barbarian, you know? He didn't want to hurt people. He just wanted to help people and be surrounded by cute animals. But he thought that that was impossible and he would have to live his whole life through being alone. Until one day, he heard about this mysterious tower far off in the distance from a traveling merchant. And the merchant told him, like, whatever you wish, it can come true. And Bob, he asked the merchant, anything at all? The merchant said, yes, of course, anything at all, anything you want. And Bob's greatest wish that he is now telling to you is not really that he can... It's not really so that he can pet animals or that he can make friends with people. That's all included. He wants to wish to be smaller to make friends with people. He wants to wish to be smaller to be friends with the animals and to not hurt his grandmother. But the main reason why he wants to wish to be smaller and not so strong is because he wants to wish not to be himself. Because he doesn't like who he is. He doesn't like that at any moment he could hurt someone. He doesn't like that he's so scary. Doesn't like that he's somebody that people are just naturally afraid of. But as he's telling you this, he kind of kneels down, he sits down on the ground, and he says that you're the first person who wasn't immediately afraid of him. You asked him to come with you up onto this adventure without ever even knowing him. And you know, maybe that's because he looks strong, who knows? But you were the first person to actually just talk to him, and you know that he trusted him to pet your cat, and now trusts him with your pet monkey. And even though he still plans to wish himself to be smaller and all that, you know what? I think he likes himself a little bit more because you like him. Bob takes a breath. He sort of, the monkey on his shoulder kind of eeks a little bit. It just continues to climb on top of him. Bob dusts himself up. He stands up full height. And he says, thank you for listening to him. Of course, still whispering because he has the mask on. Thank you, friend, for being friend. After a heartfelt moment of bonding, Chad decides to open up the rest of the cupboards in order to see what lies within. They find various trinkets. Find a small statue of an ant. A little plaque. On this plaque is what looks like a animal print. You also find a small crystal. Okay, I'm gonna say it's a very light blue crystal. You know, it's like nothing fanciful. It's not like a gem. A statue of a little man. Pair of scissors. You find a mask. A tiny, it's like a toy bow and arrow. A blank scroll. Find a tiny elephant statue. But they also find a very taunting letter to whoever is reading this. Please get out of my tower. I'm sick and tired of you adventurers trespassing into my home as you please. You lot might be very proficient in defeating the natural defenses that exist in my tower. So let's see how you do with something that's needs a bit more of a mindful touch. This is me calling you stupid. Anyhow, enjoy being stuck here forever and think about how you'll never pet anyone ever again. Yours sincerely, the wizard. Now, this is not me calling you stupid, chat. I would never do that. It's the wizard. Left feeling stumped, Chad decides to try placing one of the objects on the pedestal to see what happens. So he goes up to number 2. From his bag, he takes out the human statue and he very carefully places it onto the pedestal. The pedestal sinks just a little bit. There's a small peaking sound. And then suddenly, there's a loud explosion. Bob rushes over as Chad is flung back, losing one heart and falling back onto death saving throws. You lie on the floor gasping for breath. Now, you're not dead yet. Don't worry. In D&D, you don't die straight away. I do see an ad starting soon, which is really bad timing. You're not dead yet. Not dead yet. I'll tell you exactly how you can get out of this right now. Because in D&D, you don't die straight away. Bob, he stands over. He rushes over. He stands above you, hands shaking. And you can see that he wants to help you. But a part of him is very afraid. Like, he's so strong. What happens if he crushes you or he injures you further? But you know what, Bob can't just let you die. You're his first friend in the longest time. So Bob is gonna try his best to be as gentle as possible. He's gonna try to stabilize you. Right? Anything above a 10 passes. Oh my gosh! Let's go, Bob! He presses his hands against the front of your shell. And he just whispers, Please don't go, friend. Friend, don't go. And through his pleas, you see very weakly past him, you see the little monkey that was on his shoulder. It sort of leaps down. And it also presses his paws against your front of your shell. And then it makes a little chittering sound, a little chittering monkey sound. And from out of nowhere, its tail suddenly reveals a health potion. It reveals a health potion. It looks up at Bob and it stretches its tail out to Bob. And Bob, with shaking hands, he grabs this health potion from the monkey's tail. He uncorks it, like opens it up. He pours it over your wound. And then he pours a little bit into your open mouth. And you feel this warmth skate around you as you cough. Back on their feet, Chad knows they have to be a bit more decisive in their placement. Anyway, I had an amazing time watching Chad try to figure it out. And then they finally came to a decision. Let's try placing the crystal on pedestal 0. But let's throw it with the monkey. Unfortunately, the monkey fails to throw it and Bob steps in. He picks up the crystal, walks over to the pedestal, and places it there. And then they all hold their breath, waiting for explosion. Instead, a clue. And then, crystal gets thrown back towards Bob. He catches it. As above the statue, you see these glittering words. You see these words form above the statue. Draw. And then slowly fade away. Chad starts to discuss frantically again. What does it mean? How do we figure out this puzzle? Why hasn't Tene said anything for the last few minutes? Aren't they supposed to be entertaining us? But then, finally, a breakthrough. Okay? And then you are going to step forward to pedestal 0. And you take the empty scroll, you place it on top of the pedestal. The pedestal sinks down. You hear this soft grinding gear at the back of it. You see the pedestal light up in green. Meteorite says crystal to 2 and scissors to 5. Because this is rock, paper, scissors. So I figured out when crystal on 0 and is draw. So what draws against 0? Why draw against 0? Why the numbers? Then old Asian way once flashback. I'm gonna wanna put it. Then an old Asian flashback to me. Use fingers. Rock is fist, 0 fingers. Scissors is 2 fingers. Paper is 5 fingers. So yeah, it's the fingers when you play rock, paper, scissors. But were they correct? They step up with Bob to the pedestal and place the remaining items accordingly, holding their breath, waiting for some kind of magic to happen. And then it does. The door clicks open and slides to the side, showing Chad the next room. And all it took was 3 hours in this room trying to figure out a puzzle. But hey, that's D&D. And thus ends the session there until next week. Will Chad ever reach the top of the tower? Well, you can help find out by joining us for our D&D streams. I host them every 2 weeks, but not this week, because I'm going to be hosting a full D&D stream with my friends live. I'll be joined by the lovely Shark Rise, the witty Chimpanzee, and a couple more of my other friends who want to try out streaming. So come join us and see all the scuff. And fun. It will be fun, but probably a lot more scuff. Anyway, like and sub and drink lots of water, and I'll see you later. 10A out.